One band, one album, and nearly the end of Blink-182 as we knew it. For Tom DeLonge, it was artistic freedom, a chance to finally break out of the pop-punk mold and create something real, something raw. But for Mark Hoppus, it felt like betrayal, like watching your best friend build a new life without you. The question isn't whether this album was good. It was critically acclaimed, a masterpiece even. The real question is, how did one dark, ambitious side project plant the seeds for one of pop-punk's biggest breakups? By February 2005, Blink-182 were global icons. They'd sold millions of records. They'd defined a generation. But behind the scenes, tension was boiling over, and when that press release dropped, announcing an indefinite hiatus, fans around the world felt the ground shift beneath them. This wasn't just a break. This was a breakup, and it had been building for years. This is the story of how one member's creative obsession silenced a generation-defining band. This is the story of Boxcar Racer. Let's rewind to the early 2000s. At the turn of the millennium, Blink-182 didn't just rule pop-punk. They were pop-punk. 999's Enema of the State turned them into a cultural phenomenon overnight. Their music videos were on MTV's TRL every single day. Their faces were on magazine covers, posters, lunchboxes. You couldn't escape them. And honestly, nobody wanted to. Their blend of infectious pop hooks and punk rock energy didn't just define a sound, it defined an entire generation. Kids everywhere were discovering what it felt like to not take life too seriously, to laugh at the chaos, to feel understood. Then came 2001. Take Off Your Pants and Jacket hit #1 on the Billboard 200. Songs like The Rock Show and First Date became instant classics, capturing that goofy, fun-loving vibe Blink had perfected. They were untouchable. Or so it seemed. But here's the thing about success. It can feel like a trap. Despite all the fame, all the sold-out shows, Tom DeLonge was feeling boxed in, restless. He'd grown up on punk rock, sure, but his tastes were evolving. He was drawn to darker, heavier, more atmospheric sounds. Bands like Fugazi, Quicksand, Refused, post-hardcore stuff that hit different, stuff that made you feel something. In a 2016 documentary, Tom admitted something that probably stung for Mark to hear. He'd been feeling like Blink could be cooler musically, that the band had more potential than dick jokes and songs about high school crushes. During interviews in 2002, Tom kept denying breakup rumors. He'd laugh them off, calling Boxcar Racer just part 2 of what he was already doing. But the truth? The creative divide between him and Mark was growing wider every day. Tom wanted heavier riffs, darker lyrics, songs that mattered. Mark wanted to expand on what Blink already did well. Catchy, accessible, emotionally honest pop punk. Neither was wrong, but they were pulling in completely different directions. You could hear the shift starting to happen. Songs like Stay Together for the Kids gave everyone a preview of where Tom's head was at. Darker, more serious, more emotionally raw. Mark acknowledged it later, said it was one of their most experimental songs at the time. The single peaked at #7 on the alternative rock chart, proving that fans were ready for something deeper. But despite tracks like that, Blink's image stayed the same. Goofy, immature, and Tom? He was outgrowing it. Fast, the label wanted hits. They wanted another All the Small Things. They wanted safe, marketable, radio-friendly songs that would print money, and Tom felt suffocated by it, out of sheer frustration. Mark wrote The Rock Show. Tom wrote First Date. Both of them did it sarcastically, almost mockingly, just to satisfy the label's demands. And guess what? The songs became massive hits. But for Tom, that success only highlighted the problem. He was in a creative cage, and the more successful the cage became, the harder it was to escape. He needed a space to explore, to experiment, to prove to himself, and maybe to the world, that he was more than just the guy from the What's My Age Again? video. That desire gave birth to Boxcar Racer, and nothing would ever be the same. After the September 11th attacks, Blink's tour got postponed. Tom injured his back during the downtime and found himself stuck at home, restless and in pain. So he started writing. And the music that came out? It was dark, haunting, nothing like Blink. For Tom, it became therapy, a way to process the pain, physical and emotional, a way to channel the confusion he felt about the world, about his place in it. He said later that he wanted to prove his worth outside of Blink, to show people he was more than just 1/3 of a pop-punk band. He started reading obsessively. Politics, science, conspiracy theories. His worldview was expanding, and he needed his music to reflect that. The name Boxcar Racer came from a few places. Travis Barker had an old band with a similar name. There was also a World War II plane called the Boxcar. And thematically, Tom was inspired by biblical end-of-the-world imagery, the apocalypse, the collapse, heavy stuff. This wasn't going to be Blink 182 Part 2. This was going to be something entirely different. Tom wanted heavy guitars, quiet loud dynamics, introspective gut-wrenching lyrics. He was pulling directly from the post-hardcore playbook, bands that valued atmosphere and emotion over catchiness. He recruited guitarist David Kennedy, someone who understood the sound he was chasing. And for drums, he brought in Travis Barker. Travis got it. Travis could play anything. But here's the crucial part. Tom didn't invite Mark Hoppus. He was afraid that if Mark got involved, the project would just become Blink 2.0, that it would lose its edge, its darkness, its purpose. So he made a choice that would fracture one of pop punk's greatest friendships. Mark didn't hear about Boxcar Racer from Tom. He heard about it through mutual friends. Think about that for a second. Your best friend, your bandmate, the guy you've built an empire with, he starts a new project and doesn't even tell you. You have to find out through the grapevine. And it wasn't just any project. It used Blink's manager, Blink's label, Blink's producer, Jerry Finn. To Mark, it felt like Blink 182 minus Mark Hoppus, like he'd been replaced. Years later, Mark described how he felt in 3 words: weird, betrayed, jealous. Their friendship started to fracture in real time. Public interviews became tense. At one point, a fan asked Mark why he wasn't in Boxcar Racer. Mark went silent. You could feel the anger radiating through the screen. Eventually, Tom invited Mark to sing on one track, Elevator, but the damage was already done. The trust was shattered. When the album dropped in 2002, it was everything Tom had hoped for. Dark, emotional, critically acclaimed. The singles hit hard. I Feel So climbed to number 8 on the US alternative chart and hit number 41 in the UK. There Is landed at number 32 on the alternative chart. The album went gold in Canada, silver in the UK, and peaked at number 12 in the US. By any measure, it was a creative success. But inside Blink 182, it destroyed trust. It poisoned the well. The emotional chaos it caused was so intense that Tom ended Boxcar Racer by 2003. He realized the toll it had taken, not just on Mark, but on everything they'd built together. In 2003, Blink went into the studio to record their self-titled album, and whether they admitted it or not, the album was heavily influenced by Boxcar Racer's sound. Tom saw it as their best record, a culmination of everything he'd been trying to do. Songs like I Miss You, Feeling This, and Always showed a maturity and emotional depth Blink had never reached before. But the recording process? Brutal, tense, full of arguments. The chemistry that once made Blink magical was gone. Resentment lingered in every session. They made a masterpiece, sure, but they barely survived making it. By the time they hit the road to tour the self-titled album, the cracks had become canyons. Tom wanted a long break. He had a family now, responsibilities. He wanted to be present, to be a father. Mark and Travis wanted to keep working, keep touring, keep creating. The conflict over priorities exploded. And in February 2005, the announcement came. Blink 182 was going on an indefinite hiatus. Years later, Tom admitted the painful truth. Boxcar Racer was the best and worst thing he ever did for Blink. It gave them their creative peak, but it also tore them apart. After the split, both sides moved on. Or tried to. Tom launched Angels and Airwaves, calling it a spiritual continuation of Boxcar Racer. Big, ambitious, cinematic. He wanted to save the world with sound. Mark and Travis formed Plus 44, a direct response to the breakup. Their album When Your Heart Stops Beating was full of lyrical shots aimed squarely at Tom. The pain was raw. The anger was real. The band name itself was symbolic. Plus 44 was the UK dialing code for the city where Mark and Travis first discussed forming the project. They weren't just moving on, they were fighting back. For years, the three didn't speak. Radio silence. The friendship that had once seemed unbreakable was over. Then tragedy struck. In 2008, their longtime producer Jerry Finn, the man who'd helped shape their sound, died unexpectedly. Later that same year, Travis Barker was in a plane crash. 4 people died. Travis survived with severe burns covering most of his body. He spent months in the hospital, enduring brutal recovery. And that's when everything changed. Tom, Mark, and Travis reconnected. Grief and trauma have a way of putting old fights into perspective. In 2009, they announced their reunion. Blink 182 was back, but the wounds? They were still there, buried just beneath the surface. The reunion should have been a fresh start, but 2011's Neighborhoods told a different story. The album felt disjointed, tense, difficult. Old wounds hadn't healed, they'd just been ignored. Trust was still shaky. The magic was forced. By 2015, Tom left again. This time he wasn't chasing music, he was chasing UFOs. His company, To the Stars Academy, became his obsession. And once again, Blink-182 was left without him. Then, in 2021, Mark Hoppus was diagnosed with cancer. Life stopped, priorities shifted, and Tom and Travis were there for him, every step of the way. Through chemotherapy, through the fear, through the uncertainty, they showed up. And that's when the real healing began. Not through music, not through apologies, but through showing up when it mattered most. In 2022, Tom officially rejoined Blink-182, and this time, it felt different, real, honest. Travis and Tom later revealed they'd been working on music that sounded a lot like Boxcar Racer. That darkness, that intensity, it became Terrified on Blink's 2023 album, One More Time. The circle was complete. Tom DeLonge was right when he called it both the best and worst thing that ever happened to Blink-182. Boxcar Racer inspired their most creative work. It pushed them to evolve, to take risks, to become more than just a pop-punk band. But it also caused their biggest fallout. It fractured a friendship that took nearly 2 decades and multiple near-death experiences to fully heal. The project stands as a lesson about friendship, about communication, about the cost of creative freedom. Sometimes the things we need to create are the very things that destroy what we love most. Boxcar Racer remains a paradox, a masterpiece born from pain, a side project that overshadowed the main act. Its impact reshaped Blink-182 forever and left an unforgettable mark on music history. Thanks for watching. This has been Rock and Roll True Stories. We'll see you next time.